Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cybersecurity Recruiter Podcast. Today I'm joined by Shawn Mattioli. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate. Sounds like you've got it all going on there. For everyone listening, Shawn's got his team meetup summit shortly and also got some construction workers going up in the background on the day we've decided to record a pod together. So it sounds like an eventful week all in all, Shawn.
It's going to be incredibly busy. I'm glad you came here.
Yeah, good. It'd be good. I think these days, I think kind of those team bonding and team meetup things, it's obviously in this remote world. Like, I think that's one of the reasons I started the podcast. That sort of thing is just elevated in importance these days, hasn't it? Because we all spend a lot of time on our own working remotely. Yeah, I bet you're excited, mate, aren't you?
Incredibly excited. We've got folks over in Dublin, Prague that are flying in. Some of them are just their second time in the States. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, it's really important to get the group together in this kind of remote world with working. Really excited.
Okay, cool. Looking forward to unpacking your journey. If LinkedIn serves me correctly, you've been promoted 6 times by your current company. So you must be doing something right, my friend. So I'm sure there's a few stories to unpack that.
There are so many stories, some for a podcast, some for a pint, but it's been a heck of a journey and I'm loving it.
Yeah, cool. All right, my friend. You started off, just to do you a bit of an intro for the guys and girls that don't know you. If I get any of this wrong, feel free to shout at me or correct me, Shawn. But started off in the FBI as an intelligence analyst intern. You were then at SRA International as an intelligence analyst for over 4 years. And you've currently been with Prescient for over a decade now, progressed very well. Started off as a senior analyst, progressed up to a management role, and then to a director role, then again to a senior director role. Like I mentioned previously, promoted 6 times all in all, and you are currently the COO.
I am, yes. It's been a crazy journey.
Yeah, it's good, mate. I know I've done you a bit of an intro, but I'll start where I always start, which is who are you, what do you get up to, and what's the day in the life like right now for you?
All right, sounds great. I appreciate the introduction. I really don't have much to add other than intelligence analysis has just been my bread and butter ever since school. I went to school for it at a liberal arts school called Mercyhurst, where they teach you to be an intelligence analyst. So it's just something I've always wanted to do, and I'm lucky enough to have my career follow that path. What I'm up to now is just making sure all the trains are on time, the quality of the work hits the standard that we've set as a company, and that I maintain the culture of Prescient that is the most important to me, which is to play hard and work harder.
Okay, cool. That sounds like a fun culture. And I'll dive straight into it. It's definitely not normal to get promoted 6 times. So you've been doing something differently. Looking back now for people listening, what do you think has enabled you to have that level of progression within your organization? What have you done that maybe others haven't?
It's a unique story only because when I was hired, Prescient was a government contractor doing insider threat and vendor vetting for government agencies. And so they decided they wanted to provide that to the private sector. And so at that time, I was an intelligence analyst contracted to the Army. And I was contacted by my former boss who went over to Prescient and said, listen, we're building a due diligence for the private sector, essentially a blank canvas. We want you to come build it. And so how old was I? 26, 23, 24. I couldn't give that opportunity up. To build something to what you felt was your standard and getting the runway to build a product was something I couldn't let go. When I went over to Prescient, I was analyst number 1. We didn't have any clients. I was the only operator on the team. I helped build the analytic standards, the final product, went and sourced clients and the first team. I've been there since day 1. And so as it grew and as we got bigger, I was given the opportunity to see other sides of the business. And I think that's pretty unique. From being somebody that does the work to leading the team, I was able to then shift to sales. Because I had built the product, I knew it so well, I was able to communicate to clients and prospective clients what we could do and how we were a little bit different from the competition. So from there, I really enjoyed seeing and talking with clients and building relationships. And so from there, I was actually able to then go into client experience or client success, where I was just responsible for making sure, are the clients happy? Are we getting them the deadlines that we said that we would? And overall, in all of those promotions, I was able to see very different sides of a business And that just allowed me to then take all of my experiences and put it together to be able to run the operations of the company. So it's, like I said, I'm sure it's going to be beating a dead horse here, but I'm very lucky and it's been a very unique ride.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm a firm believer that you make your own luck in life. I'm sure there's been plenty of hard work on the way as well, Shawn. And it all looks like a smart move now, but at the time, like you mentioned there, sourcing your own clients, recruiting your own team, like it was quite a risk really to come over and do all that. You said blank canvas. I mean, it sounds exciting, but it sounds risky as well.
It was very risky. I moved my pregnant wife from Virginia to Chicago to pursue this as well. So you want to talk about a risk. It was a big one, but I can't thank her enough for believing in me and joining me on the journey. Yeah, a lot of late nights, a lot of very long hours, but when you believe in something and you know you're building something special, it's really exciting. The time actually just goes by a lot faster than you think.
Yeah, no, cool. As well, when you're in that situation, you say that, that your other half's pregnant and you had to make it work, mate, didn't you? You didn't have much choice.
And it all worked out, but it certainly was a leap of faith.
Yeah, cool. And the reason that the opportunity came was essentially through your own network, through your old boss, did you say? That was through a relationship you built previously?
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's worth picking up on. I think the value of a network's always been really important, but I almost feel like with the way the world's going now and it's so noisy on LinkedIn and all these platforms, if I'm related to applying for job boards and job adverts are really noisy, I almost feel like it's going really, like in quite an ironic way, all this automation and AI, I feel like in some ways is almost making the network piece so much more valuable. Like a search we've just been working on, we deployed loads of software to go and source loads of different people. And the guy that's just literally received an offer today was someone that I knew. I just picked the phone up to and I knew he'd be a great fit. And it's like all the tech and all the AI can all be there. But the value of that network, or in your case, it means a lot, mate, doesn't it?
The warm intros mean a lot compared to the cold outreach, 100%. Yeah. It's a much smaller world than you think when it comes to at least my industry. So burning bridges on the way out, very bad choice. And just being a good worker, a hard worker, respecting your superiors can come back and it can help you if they move on and there's a position open that they think you'd be a good fit for. So yeah, intros with networking is, I think, more important than ever.
Yeah. It is such a small world. When people have come on this pod, they've gone on the YouTube channel before and gone, I went to school with him and I know it. And it's like, everyone knows everyone.
It's true. Wouldn't believe it, but it's the Kevin Bacon effect.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned you really enjoyed the relationship building piece that got you involved with the client side. I think that's just such a valuable skill set. Is there anything there that you've learned over the years, my friend, that could help the listeners, or if there's people listening that know that they're probably not as good as building relationships as they could be?
Yeah, 100%. I first tried to get into sales by copycatting a salesperson on my team and doing what they did. And I realized that's just not for me. That's not who I am. It felt awkward. So I was just myself. And so when I reached out to folks, I wasn't trying to sell them hard. I was just trying to build a relationship. I was just trying to let them know I could be in their back pocket in case of an emergency. And it could be 3 weeks from now, or it could be 2 years, but I'll be here. And so it's just about being yourself and building a relationship to the person. Business will come. But at the end of the day, I think what I learned most is that people want to do business with people they like.
Yeah.
It can be that simple.
Yeah, it's so true. I can't remember the exact stats now, but I saw a stat. It was something like your total addressable market, like the amount that will deal with you there and then on that day is it's like 0.something%, but the amount in your total addressable market that will need you at some point, then the figure goes up 80 or 90%, something like that. So as long as you're willing to play that longer term game, which by the way, so many people aren't, but if you are willing to play that, and it likes it so much, I know from doing sales myself, Shawn, it's such a nicer approach and people find it quite refreshing, don't they?
Completely, because you don't need to be a robot. Just be yourself, build a relationship, and it helps with referrals down the line too. Because if you can build a steady relationship with them, they're going to have someone in their network that needs help, and you're a trusted asset at that point. So it pays itself in dividends.
Yeah, I think I relate it to a little bit like that on when people are looking for roles as well. Because one thing I always say to candidates that we're approaching is, look, if you're open to a move now, great, but let's have a conversation anyway, because it's going to be a mutually beneficial conversation either now or in 3 months or in 6 months or maybe in 2 or 3 years. But yeah, I think having that, essentially it's like being ultra proactive as well. Like you're selling before you need to actually sell anything. If people start looking for jobs when they don't need to look, that's when you stay ahead of the game. It's when you're reaching out trying to sell something when certain people might be desperate to sell it, and then you come across desperate, pushy. That's when it gets awkward. And it's the same whether it's looking for a job or selling a service or a product. I think being a bit more long-term and proactive just massively helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. 100%. And we've grown as a culture to not want to answer our doorbells and not want to answer our phones from phone numbers we don't know, where 25, 30 years ago, we were like, ooh, who's at the door? Oh, I wonder who this is. The stranger kind of cold outreach, it just doesn't relate to people anymore.
I don't think it does. But I still hear people preaching about cold calling and stuff like that. And sometimes I do it, but we don't. You're right what you're saying, because I looked at all our client relationships. All of them have either come off the podcast or just taken that long-term approach like you said, or a lot of mine have come through LinkedIn. And I actually was having an internal conversation. I was like, why do I even bother doing this? I'll just force, and I don't even like doing it, Shawn. Get on the phone last thing, and I'll maybe do an hour here and there and leave some voicemails. And some people are all right, but you annoy some people by doing it. And I think that, and those days are going to disappear more and more, because the generation before us, they have grown up WhatsApping each other, meeting each other. They had Snapchat and WhatsApp and all the rest of it when they were teenagers. I've noticed even anyone I know that's maybe 10 years younger than me, even if I know them, I'll call them, they won't answer, then they'll WhatsApp me 5 minutes later. It's like they don't even pick up the phone to their friends.
That's it. It's a complete change in the way we operate and communicate. It's insane.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. No. So longer term approach is something you've done, Shawn. Anything else on the community side or stuff like that? Or is it just more being consistent and regularly keeping in touch with people in general?
Just regularly keeping in touch, taking them to a lunch a couple of times a year, but getting invested in who they are and in what they do. And my line of work, it is all about trust. You're not going to expose some of your internal dealings that might be embarrassing or a threat to just anybody out there on the street. So building that trust and that relationship is all what my industry is about.
Cool, yeah. So I know you mentioned Prescient. Were they doing the insider threat stuff before you joined, or have you been involved with that since as well?
I helped evolve it on the private sector. So working with a ton of corporate security to deal with disgruntled employees, upset customers, or if a employee threatens any sort of action, we're investigating quite quickly.
Okay. I bet it's fascinating, isn't it? Insider threat stuff.
It is. It really is. On the one end, it is scary. On the other end, some of it is comical when people don't realize they're using company property to threaten or try and steal intellectual property or start their own competitive business. So it can be funny on that end. Smart criminals are the ones you don't know about deal. But yeah, it can be scary. You don't know what is going on in somebody's mind. And so every threat investigation we receive, we treat it as if it is legitimate. We are responding to our clients within a workday with a verbal update. If this person is a viable threat, if they have past actions that might lead to some course of action that law enforcement needs to be involved, or they need to put a BOLO, be on the lookout for. But you got to treat it all seriously, because with workplace violence over the last 10 years, there's been multiple mass shootings where somebody said something, posted something, and it wasn't taken seriously. That is where it becomes very important to treat it with 100% seriousness.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I was actually going to say, I'm sure you have to take everything seriously, but my gut feel would be when someone's shouting something from the rooftops, maybe they don't do it. It's the quiet ones you've got to watch. But that's an example you've just given, as when someone can post something and they can follow through. So I presume
it's all about their history. Do they have a propensity for violence? What kind of life events have occurred recently? So looking at their social media to see, is there a change in behavior on what they're posting and the sentiment around it? Have they just filed for bankruptcy? Have they just lost a loved one? Are they going through a divorce? And then you couple that with, okay, they have a hunting license. They're posting photos of weapons. You can start to piece together a possibility that doesn't need to ring the alarm, but can certainly heighten security and get people to proactively look and make sure that nothing happens.
I can imagine that world has like really evolved over the years as well, because everything has got to do damage in the hacking sense. I think, especially since the advent of AI, it's got a lot easier. I'm imagining that the threat landscape's probably got a lot more serious and probably a lot broader as well. I bet you've seen a few changes.
Yeah, especially in cyber, a lot of changes, a lot of breaches of personal identifiable information of folks, from phone numbers to email addresses to plain text passwords to their socials, credit cards, you name it. The dark web is continuing to expand and is the place that your information is being sold.
Because everyone's digital footprint is so big these days, I don't know, is catching these people easier or is it not?
It's not that it's easier.
Okay.
With VPNs and different setups, it can be quite hard to pin down an IP address. Like I said, the smart criminals are the ones you don't know about because they're doing everything right, but there are a lot of sloppy criminals out there that are using cell phones that they use for other things that can be back to them, or usernames and the such. I don't want to give away too many because I don't want to teach them anything.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like ransomware as well, being able to communicate with the criminals to negotiate a handover of a system, you need to be tact. You need to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you can really screw it up.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine like ransomware negotiation and insider threat. It must be the biggest conversation starter at a party as well. Like everyone must be fascinated.
It is. I find myself in social networking events describing what I do, and people just immediately give me the craziest thing you've ever done, ever heard, or people you've caught. And it's a great conversation starter. And it's, for me, that type of networking leads to relationship building because I can tell them, like, listen, you may not need my services, but now you know me. And if a crazy thing happens to you, reach out. I would say you can ask almost anybody at Prescient what's like the favorite type of case that you get. And it's the one where a client says, I don't know if you guys can do this, but, and then we're working creative, we'll work with you. But those are the exciting ones because we get to be really creative.
Yeah, cool. I don't know how much you can and can't say, Shawn, but is ransomware negotiation done over the phone, or is it done through encrypted chat, or a bit of both?
Encrypted chats. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not on the phone.
Okay. Do you need to know other languages as well, maybe?
I haven't come across that, but I'm sure it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, okay, cool. But yeah, no, I bet you've got some fascinating stories. But cool. All right, Shawn, I was going to move on to hiring. And like, I know as a business, you guys and girls are doing well and like growth's on the horizon. It's a tough market for people out there. Is there any kind of like advice you've got for folks that might want to join your company, other companies similar that are looking to hire? What do you look out for? What do you like? What don't you like?
Yeah. This may not come across nice, but I feel like I need to say it because I've had plenty of conversations in my network, people from different industries as well, that we all come to the same conclusion. This graduating class that is starting to look for their first job rely heavily on LLMs. They rely heavily on writing aids. And it is in interview processes, it is tough to find those that are willing to get their hands dirty. But it's what I've been seeing. Now, for those that are interviewing and those that are looking to get into the industry, there are 5 key things that I look for when I'm interviewing, and 5 key things that if you've been with Prescient over a couple of years, you possess. The first one is communication skills, and that is the ability to communicate up, down, and across the organization. The example I give is you're assigned a project with a 7-day turnaround. And on day 2, you realize there's no way I'm getting this done in 7 days. The online footprint is massive. They've got a rap sheet longer than a CVS receipt. And you decide, I'm just going to pull late nights at work. I'll work over the weekend. I'll get it done. Life happens. Other projects come in. Something takes priority. And the project is due and it's not done. The strength to communicate to your superior on day 2 and say, listen, this is not getting done in 7 days. We need to push. That's huge. That goes a long way. So communication skills to me are very important. Writing skills in my industry are imperative. You can be the best analyst in the world, but if you cannot put it on paper for a decision maker to read, then it's all for naught. So your writing skills need to be on point. You need to be able to not just analyze information and come up with a conclusion, it needs to be well written. I call it Barney style, break it down Barney style, like the big purple dinosaur for the decision maker. Not because the decision maker isn't smart, but keep it in plain English. We're writing a product that is giving an assessment. It needs to be readable across the board. So writing skills are huge. Time management skills, the ability to take on multiple projects, understanding deadlines, knowing when to take a mental break and get back at it to shift priorities. Time management skills are huge. If you don't have those, then you will be micromanaged. So those that are on the team, they've got great time management skills. Critical thinking skills. That is something that it took me 4 years of college every day in my courses at Mercyhurst to learn. The ability to look at a problem set and not just be confined to the box of thinking inside of it, changing the angle of it, flipping it upside down, opening it up, realizing that it's 4D, right? Your ability to look at a problem set and take a step back and really analyze. What am I looking at? What are the requirements of the customer? Am I on point, or am I jumping down rabbit holes that mean nothing? Critical thinking skills are hard to teach to a new hire if they don't have it. It is gained by experience in the real world, by your studies, and some of it is just your kind of professional makeup. Some people have it, some people don't. The last thing and the fifth thing is adaptability. Your ability to go from 0 to 100, not be crushed by the pressure or the uncertainty, is really big in this industry. Like we spoke about the threat investigations. Those aren't planned. Those typically come in at 4 p.m. on a Friday where everyone's just, I was almost there. The ability to get back on, adapt to the situations, and crush the product, like adaptability is huge. You have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. I like to describe it in my industry as controlled chaos, because it really is. It ebbs and flows. It can get crazy busy. So you need to be able to manage that. And those are things that I look at of a good candidate and a great worker.
I'm so glad I asked you that question, because that was a banging answer. Thank you. No, it was really good. There's some really good stuff there. So I just want to make sure all the listeners have got it. So the communication piece, you talked about the strength to communicate. And I've heard this from different people at your kind of level before. So this is almost like almost a natural reaction, especially if someone at a more junior level would to maybe be shy away and hide away from it, sweep it under the carpet. But you've actually got to do the opposite to what you would feel. And you've got to face it head on. If anything, over communicate. It's going to feel really awkward at first, but it's definitely going to help if you essentially face it head on.
I don't know. This just popped into my head, but you're in the ocean and a 50-foot wave starts coming at you. You can either start swimming to shore now or wait till it's closer, hoping that maybe you can swim under it. You're not going to swim under it. Start swimming to shore the moment you see it. Have the confidence to do that. It's a very old school like feeling to be like, well, they're my boss and I can't tell them no, and I can't tell them that it won't be done in time. That's not true. They face it at the beginning or the end. And trust me, the end is going to be way worse.
Yeah, cool. And you used the phrase Barney style. So essentially for the writing skills, for everyone listening, it's so true what you just said there. And the further up the hierarchy you go, the more people just want you to get to the point. I had it in my early days in recruitment where I get on the phone to a chap like you, Shawn, and I'd just be talking too much. And in the nicest possible way, it just frustrates people. They just want you to get to the point and get on with it, because everyone's busy and it just frustrates people if you can't, whether it's verbal or written, I think.
Yeah. If your executive summary cannot translate to an 11-second elevator pitch, you've said too much.
Yeah. And then project management skills, I think, especially important for when you're dealing with lots of different end clients, working on an advisor or consulting basis. I think for those that have like maybe always worked internally or something, that you need to have had that exposure of managing. And again, I can relate to this myself, because when you've got lots of different searches on and clients and everyone wants the candidates yesterday and blah, 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 blah. So it is stressful. But yeah, I think the more you do it, the more you get used to that kind of thing. But it's certainly a skill, isn't it?
It's a skill, and it's something you can piece together from your mentors and your colleagues. You can ask what they do. How do they manage it? Do they write it down on a sticky note? Do they have reminder notes on their phone or their laptop? You can Frankenstein your own process. It have to be unique to your own. Don't reinvent the wheel. If it works, For somebody else, it can and it cannot, but more times than not, you can take a piece of what people do and say, all right, I can do that. That works for me. It is a skill that can be Frankensteined by what works for others. And I do that a lot. I learn from a lot of people's failures. And I say to myself, that's not how I will do it if I have that opportunity. And that's how I taught myself to be a leader, was looking at my past leadership all the way back to being a contractor and saying, man, if I'm ever in this position, that's not how I will react. And then when those situations arise 5 years later, I know what not to do.
Yeah, cool. I like that as well about having your own approach to it as well, because I won't show you, Shawn, because it's an absolute mess, but I've got loads of different bits of paper there. But in my mind, it's perfectly organized. Anyone else would come in here and go, what is this guy doing? But it allows me to keep tabs on all the clients, what's going on, and make sure that everyone is getting catered to on time. And yeah, it's just creating your own little system. And then every 7 or 8 days, I'll just literally just block out a couple of hours and just tidy the whole thing up and then go again. But it's my little crazy way of doing it, and it works.
Controlled chaos.
Exactly. And the critical thinking piece, just to make sure everyone's understanding then. So am I right in saying a situation arises and it's just making sure that you deal with it appropriately and your thoughts are where they should be, and ultimately that comes with experience, is what we're saying?
Yeah. So an example would be looking for a Facebook profile of a subject, and they've got a common name. And you do a Boolean logic, or you look through social media and you can't find it. If you don't have the critical thinking skills, you're going to be like, it's not there. Somebody that possesses critical thinking skills will say, okay, they've got 2 brothers that are younger. They got a mother and a father, and I'm going to look them up and try and back my way into uncovering their profile. And lo and behold, you see a picture from Thanksgiving. There's your subject in the photo, and they're tagged and they use their middle name as their profile. So that's how you find it, right? The ability to not just follow a checklist and be like, I did everything that was on the paper, and you're not even there, right? You're just a machine. That's critical thinking skills.
Yeah. And when you're running teams and remote teams and things are scaling, you need those critical thinkers, because if everyone is knocking on your office door, albeit maybe virtually these days, asking those questions, you're not going to get much done.
Completely. And again, a lot of what keeps people in our industry up is our reputation. So there is no cutting corners. There is no, I'm just going to take it easy on this one. You can't afford to do that. Every single needs 100% of your attention.
Yeah, no, cool. And I think the adaptability one, I think that it's massive, just because the rate at which we're all experiencing change these days is fast, and I think it's probably going to get even faster as time goes on. So I think, I think being adaptable and being able to pick new things up, that's going to be, it's already massive, but it's going to be even more so, I think, as time goes on.
Completely. Yeah. You can't keep doing the same thing and be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Things are evolving quickly. What we do as a company, we have our monthly research meetings with the entire operations team, which is led by our head of research. And we're constantly looking, are there ways to do this better? Are there efficiencies that can be made? What tools are out there that we haven't looked at yet? You have to evolve with the situation. The way you did it 5 years ago is not going to stand up to how it's done today. That's just the truth.
Yeah, cool. And by the way, the stuff you said at the start there about will this stay in? It will definitely stay in, because some of my LinkedIn posts are a bit like this. I'm sometimes a little bit harsh, because I think it's true. And the best example I can give you is one of our clients. They wanted a lot of GRC analysts, and their standards were pretty high for all the right reasons. Some of the stuff you're talking about, advisory, client facing, needed to be sharp, quick. They operate at a fairly quick pace and a high velocity as an organization. And I know the sort of people that do well there and the sort of people that don't. But honestly, I'd be doing sometimes 30 interviews before I could find 1 or 2 people I was happy to share with them. And these people looked great on paper. These were people that were meant to be absolute experts in their particular subsection of security, and they just weren't. So it's shocking how many people, it keeps guys like me busy, so I probably shouldn't complain too much, but it's shocking how many people aren't where they should be. It really is.
There's a very clear line of those that have it and those that don't. It's crazy to me. The thinking for yourself, being able to write an original thought comes hard. You can't have that in my industry. You got to be able to work by yourself, think for yourself, be critical of yourself. You need to know who you are.
Yeah. So do we think AI is just making people a bit lazy, but also probably more worryingly or equally as worryingly, if you're never sitting down and exercising a muscle, whether that be the writing muscle or whether that be a muscle in the gym, if you're never using it, you're losing it. And I wonder if that is what is happening.
I really do think so. People can in general thoughts of what they want and get 3 paragraphs by AI. And they're like, boom, this is what I wanted to say. These aren't their words. So they haven't had to sit and literally try and create that bit. So it's almost like that function of the brain isn't there. It's scary to me because it will continue to evolve, but I don't know. I can only speak for the industry that I'm in, but it's just there's no place for it. We need a human in the loop for what we do. We need human eyes on it. We need them to follow their gut. We need to have them follow rabbit holes. You can't do that when you're relying strictly on LLMs and AI and things of the same.
Even from a mental standpoint and a happiness level, like I sit and write, and I'm meant to do it every week. I don't quite get one out every week, but I sit there and it's like my little Thursday morning ritual. I'll sit there with a coffee and I'll write like my weekly newsletter, and I find it like really therapeutic. Like after I've done it, I feel great. So I wonder if people are probably missing out a bit as well.
I would 100% agree.
Yeah.
It's for sure therapeutic.
Yeah, it is. No, it definitely is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it'll be interesting. I really worry about that junior end of the market for the reasons that we've talked about now, for the fact that remote is great for people that have been experienced for a long time. But I think if you're really junior, I would argue that there's very rarely that remote's going to be good.
You need the soft skills. You need to see how an office works. You need to see what the professional world is like. You are in for a very tough road. Just straight into a remote job. And again, I'm sure there's industries where it does make sense and there are people that are doing it and thriving. I'm not trying to blanket everything, but in my industry, like we work together as a group every day. Like we are turning left and right and asking questions. Hey, I've hit a roadblock. I don't know how to find this. And then the person to your left can be like, all right, have you searched this, that, and the other thing? And then it can be like, oh, no, I forgot to do that. So team collaboration, being in person, it's a difference maker. It really is. And I think this generation, unfortunately, with COVID, got stunted. And then when remote work became predominantly what people would go after, it's the soft skills, the interpersonal, just the ability to have the intelligence to deal with folks in person. It's a sharp decline.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. And I think if people at the junior level, I think if they're like really aware and cognizant of it, I think they could be all right, because you could go out there and get a job in an office. We're living in the age of the internet where it's at today. Like there's never been so much information out there and free online courses and stuff like that. Some of them not so good, some of them great. So I think if people are aware of it, I just wonder how many people will be. Thing is, you combine all that, and then you got the AI and the automation that genuinely is taking away some of those more junior jobs. I'm already seeing it with some of my clients. So yeah, it probably is. I think if you do what most people won't, you'll be okay. But I think there'll be a lot of people out there probably cruising, being way too surface level in the way they build relationships, the way they go about their work in general, and will probably just blame the market or blame the world or blame everything else, and it won't end well.
Unfortunately, yeah. I see that.
Yeah, I do, mate. Cool. All right, Shawn. When it comes to your own self-development, I used to basically say, which book have you read that's had the most positive impact? But it can be book, it can be podcast, it can be online content, just anything you've consumed that's helped your career or has made you the best version of yourself. It can be security related, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. So I'm currently reading The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, and it is essentially the ability, or at least trainings on how to stop allowing others' opinions to dictate your self-worth. And it is eye-opening when you start to practice and see how others can act and how it sticks with you. But you realize at the end of the day, like you have the ability to get your response the way you want it to. You can either let it bother you or not. Let them go on vacation without you. That's fine. They're allowed to do that. Why does it bother you? Like it shouldn't. It doesn't have to. I'm in the middle of that. It's been great because when you are in charge of all of the operations and you are leading all of these teams, everyone has their own personality. Everyone reacts differently to what you say. And not only is it important to get to know your workers on an individual basis to know what makes them tick, But if some of them aren't happy with XYZ, but it's a decision that needs to be made, let them. That's their right to feel that way, and they've got their rights. Their feelings are valid. You've got what you have to do, and you got to focus on you. That's the one I'm in the middle of, and it's been refreshing.
Yeah, let them theory. Yeah, I think I'd like to read that. I mentioned this before on the pod, but I swear since I've started working remotely, like I think way more, I overthink way more than I used to. And I know why, because if I was in like an old school recruitment office on the sales floor with 20 or 30 guys and girls to the left of me, 20 or 30, if I had some sort of problem, someone would just give me a little nudge on the shoulder and would probably say something to make me laugh and it would all go away. Whereas when you're remote and you're on your own, you're like, oh, and then you like start overthinking. So that sounds like a good book to combat that.
Completely. What's funny is I picked it up at the airport and my flight was like 3 hours delayed. Oh, wow. And I was with my family. I've got 3 young kids. I'm like, I just want to be home. Like, why does this always happen? And I was getting all frustrated. So I decided to take a walk. I saw the book. I flipped open to a random page and it started talking about it's out of your control in the airport when things are delayed. And like, it's all about like how you react. And I was like, that's a sign. I need to buy this book. And it's been refreshing.
Yeah, I think that was just after when we originally spoke. I think you just got back.
Oh, that was another trip. Would I had the book for that one? That would have been way better. That's a story over a pint.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll save that one then, mate. I think it's as well, it's because if you are worried about what people, especially in a leadership capacity like yourself, I'm imagining like if you're worried about what everyone's thinking constantly, you're trying to please everyone. I think the old saying is you try and please everyone, you'll please no one. And it's, you've got to be able to, handle the fact that maybe not everyone's going to love what you do all the time. It's just not reality, is it?
Right. It is the reality. And a call back to how I learned to be an effective leader was from the failures of the past leaders that I had, especially in a military unit as a civilian working in an intel shop. We were led as one unit. And so the message was the same for everyone, regardless of how you reacted. It didn't matter. Your feelings really didn't matter. I tried to apply that in the private sector and was like, this isn't going to work at all. I need to know these people on an individual basis. I need to know what makes them tick, how to actually motivate them the right way, critique their work the right way. You do that on an individual basis, it'll work, but you're not going to please everybody with a big...
Cool, yeah. I've really enjoyed this one, mate. And like I've had a really busy day and things going on so far, and some like just sitting here and like just... You seem like a very cool, calm, collected guy. And it's like, I can feel it. It's like it's rubbing off on me in a good way. It's nice.
That's great. I appreciate that.
Cool. But thanks for your time. Do you think we've about covered everything? Do you think we've done okay?
I hope so. We'll have to leave that to the audience, but you're not going to please everybody. So I think we did okay.
Yeah, it was a good one. So thanks again for your time. And
thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's been great. Great conversation. All right. Cheers.